Hi, Junior with today's thought, and today I just want to expand a little on the thought that I did yesterday. Actually, in that thought, I had said that there was another issue that wasn't germane to what I was talking about yesterday, which was a criticism of our foreign policy, our Middle East foreign policy. And in that, well, you know what I do? At the end of this video, you'll see little pop-ups, thumbnails of other videos that I hope you'll watch. And one of them is the one that I did yesterday, so we don't have to rehash it. But in that, I mentioned the Israel-Gaza war and this pursuit by this administration of a ceasefire, trying to negotiate an agreement with Hamas, who are terrorists. Now, that was a subject yesterday, so what I'm going to talk about now is not germane, and I said I would talk about it today, and it's today, so I'm going to talk about it. And that's in that thought that I did yesterday. I referred to an article that appeared in the Wall Street Journal, I believe it was, Wall Street Journal, that we had, or somebody had intercepted messages from Yahya Sinwar, the terrorist leader in Gaza, hiding in his tunnel, surrounded by hostages, and to protect himself. And between him and the higher ups and the elites, I guess, of Hamas, enjoying the high life in their hotels in Gitter. But in that message, he had said, we have the Israelis right where we want them. He also said that he didn't care about never mind the Israelis, but the Gazans being killed, the civilians. He said, well, they're necessary sacrifices. And he's a very devout, very far, very extreme Muslim who believes probably that they'll all go to paradise anyhow, so they'll be better off there than here among the living. But the point is that they're in that message. Well, there's a tell in that message. Now, what is a tell? A tell is, you may know, in poker. When you watch poker, when poker players play, they don't just play the cards, they watch the other players, and they're people who, sometimes they have to be very, very careful, a player, to keep a very neutral face, because sometimes there are little ticks, little things they will do that will reveal the kind of hand that they'll have. Maybe they'll get the hand, they'll look at it, and they'll raise their eyebrow a little bit, and that tells an astute other player, well, that guy thinks he's got a good hand, or he knows he's got a good hand because he did that. Or if he makes some other kind of little tick or something, that says that he has a bad hand, and that tells the player who notices that how to bet, whether to call or fold or raise, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes you see in diplomatic relations the same thing, a tell. Now, the definition does not quite fit in this case, because this was supposed to be a secret communication these were intercepted messages between Sinwar and Hania in Gitter, that we weren't supposed to see it. So it wasn't a public thing that we could look at and see a tell, but he did reveal something that I don't think he wanted. Well, that's where it doesn't quite fit the definition, because it's not that he revealed something that he didn't want to reveal, but he thought it was a secret message that it wouldn't be intercepted. But in that message, well, first of all, he says that, this is what I referred to in the thought, the main thought yesterday, was that he said, we have the Israelis right where we want them. In other words, he's expecting if he just holds out, that in time, the pressure from the international community and this horrible administration, including this horrible administration that we have, will pressure Israel to just leave Gaza and just give up, and that would be a victory for Hamas. They would still be in power. They could start bringing weapons in again and perpetrate another October 7 or something even worse. So that's what he was banking it. But one of the reasons, this is the tell, this is the important part, one of the reasons that he said that he thinks is winning, well, he said the all we have to do is hold, that we can hold, we have the Israelis where we want them, and we can hold out for several months. We can hold out for several months. That is the tell, because he said we can hold out for several months. He did not say several years. He said several months. And we know that the Israelis now, they have moved into Rafah. They moved into the Philadelphia corridor. That is the borders Egypt, where the smuggling tunnels, where the Gazans, where Hamas was smuggling in weapons. Well, that route has been closed off. So Hamas is stuck with the weapons that they have now. They can't replace them. And he says himself that they can hold out for several months, not years. So he thinks time is on his side, but time is actually on Israel's side if they hold out. And it looks like the Israelis over and over and over, they made it clearer and clearer. I don't know. That's why I don't know why this administration doesn't get it. Israel's not going to just leave Gaza. They are not going to agree to a permanent ceasefire, I don't know why this administration doesn't. Whenever they promulgate another one of these stupid agreements, they say ceasefire, they should always put the word temporary in front of it. Plan for a temporary ceasefire, to make clear that the Israelis are only talking about a temporary ceasefire. But so that is the only thing. Israel's committed. They're not going to allow another October 7th. So they are committed to the destruction. Hamas will no longer have a governing capability or a military capability in Gaza. And that's the end game here. And it will happen in a few months, because Sinwar himself said they can hold out for only a few months. I mean, he said we can hold out for a few months, but eventually it should come to a point where he says if he doesn't know already that he's losing, that he has to say, instead of we can hold out for a few months, we can hold out for only a few months, and then it'll be over. Or only a few weeks at some point, only a few days. And that is one of the lessons that I think the Israelis have learned, because this happened in the 2006 Lebanon war, and it looks like Israel made it clear this time that Hamas, now we're talking about the north, from which we're increasing rocket attacks from Hezbollah, and Israel and the people who had to evacuate the north are getting more and more impatient with the Israeli generals. They say, why are we not attacking? Why are we not destroying? The Israeli people are ready and willing. The army is ready and willing. The soldiers are ready and willing. It's just the generals who so far will not order an attack. But one of the lessons that they should learn is there was, at the end of the 2006 Lebanon war. Oh, and that's the other thing. I have to throw this in. That Lebanon, Hezbollah is now part of the Lebanese government. They have representatives in the legislature. So Israel made it very clear. This time it's not going to be surgical strikes if there's another war, or I would just predict when there is another war. It's not going to be surgical strikes on Hezbollah, but it's going to be a state-to-state war. It's going to be a war between Israel and Lebanon, and all of Lebanon is a target. As one Israeli government official, I don't remember which one it was, could have been Avigdor Lieberman, I'm not sure, but he said, we are not, the people of Lebanon, they're not going to enjoy themselves on the beaches while Israelis are hiding in bomb shelters. It's going to be total war against Lebanon, which is one of the things that has held Hezbollah back. So that's the one thing. But this other part that doesn't get a lot of notice, but hopefully the Israelis will notice. But there was, I read an article, and there was an interview after the Lebanon war, another one of the wars where Israel turned the tables. They had finally I think they sent paratroopers, and they had gotten to the Litani River, and the tables were turning, they were about to win, and the Bush administration, Condoleezza Rice, pressured the Israelis to stop, short of victory, as if this was a video that I thought that I did probably only a few days ago. Same thing, always pressuring the Israelis to stop. And one of the lessons it looks like they learned in Gaza, they're not going to stop this time. They've had enough of this pressure from the international community. Netanyahu himself said, we'll fight with our fingernails if we have to, but we're going to destroy Hamas. But getting back to Hezbollah, this last point is that this article I read, there was an interview. Two interviews. Nasrallah himself said that if he knew how the Israelis were going to react when the war was sparked, when Hezbollah killed an Israeli soldier and kidnapped, I think, 2 more. Very small incident, but it triggered a whole war. And Nasrallah had said that this is a direct quote, that if he had known how the Israelis would react, that he never would have done what he did. That's number one. But number two, there was an interview. This is the important point. There was an interview with one of the Hezbollah soldiers, just a soldier. And he said, after it was all over, he said, we were only 10 days away from surrendering. In 10 days, we would have surrendered. So Israel, they only had to hold out 10 more days, and the whole situation would have been completely different. Hezbollah would have surrendered, and that would have been the end. So it looks like Israel learned that lesson too. They're going to go all the way. And and I'll just mention, I keep throwing these things in. Israel now, they say they have the capability. They can do more damage to Lebanon in one day than they did in 2006 during the entire war. And you're going to see a massive land invasion because of all the missiles and rockets that Hezbollah has. They have, the estimate is about 150,000, which doesn't matter. I mean, after, up to a certain point, after the end of World War II, when Germany surrendered, they still had V-2 rockets, and they had materiel and ammunition and artillery shells. They never got to use them, though. And that's what you're going to see in Lebanon. You're going to see the 2006 war was the mistake the Israelis made. They just fought it, let the Air Force do it. They didn't send in a large. The Israelis were actually, though they have a much larger army than the number of Hezbollah terrorists, the number of soldiers that the Israelis sent into Lebanon, they were outnumbered by Hezbollah. At this time, you can expect a massive invasion, because they're going to get in there on the ground, and they're going to have to take out these rocket launchers, as many as they can, before they can be used. And I guess that's my thought for today. I broke it wasn't a promise, it was a hope, it was a goal that this would be a short video, but didn't turn out that way, as is usually the case. So congratulations to those of you who stuck with me. And if you did stick with me, then maybe you could really stick with me and subscribe. That would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it, and maybe subscribe. But most of all, and your comments are welcome below the video in the comments section. But most of all, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.